I stood frozen as the airline agent's words hit me like a punch to the gut. "You're not boarding this flight, Colonel Nathan," she said, her voice clipped and cold. My uniform felt like it was choking me, the weight of my duty to Jamie Private. First class Jamie Reynolds crashing down harder than ever. Before I could even process it, a man in the crowd behind me shouted, "Good. We don't need your kind touching our heroes." His venom sliced through the air and heads turned. My heart pounded, but I kept my face stone cold. I'd faced worse than this loudmouth. Still, the chaos was just beginning. I was at JFK Airport, tasked with escorting Jamie's remains back to his family in California. He'd been my best friend, my confidant, and years a Gauss, something more. We'd kept that part hidden, buried under military protocol and unspoken promises. Now, he was gone, and I was here to honor him. But the agent wouldn't budge. Security. "Protocol," she repeated, her eyes flicking nervously to her screen. "Explain it," demanded, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest. "I've done this before. There's no protocol that stops me from boarding," she stammered. "It's just policy. I can't call your supervisor," I cut in. She hesitated, then grabbed her phone. The crowd was growing restless, phones already out, filming the standoff. That's when Mike, a grizzled guy in a Marine Corps cap, stepped up beside me. "Hey, I've flown with escorts before," he said loudly, glaring at the agent. "This is bull. What's the real problem?" The agent flinched, but said nothing. Then a young woman, Sarah, I'd later learned, whipped out her phone and started streaming. "This is live," she announced. "Colonel's being denied boarding while escorting a fallen soldier. People need to see this," the man who'd yelled earlier John, I'd call him, and my head pushed forward, his face red. "Maybe they're right to stop him. You think we want him handling our boys?" His words dripped with hate, and I knew exactly what he meant. I'd heard it before, whispers, slurs, sideways glances. Being a gay man in the army wasn't the battle it once was, but some people never let it go. I turned to him, locking eyes. "Say it clear, or don't say it at all," he smirked. "You know what I mean, Colonel?" Mike shoved between us. "Back off, pal. This man's a soldier, same as any of us." Crowd splits and cheered Mike. Others muttered support for John. Phones multiplied, capturing every second. My mind raced to Jamie's laugh, his quiet strength. The night we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. I couldn't let this turn into a circus. Not for him. The supervisor finally showed up, a sweaty guy in a cheap suit. "Colonel Nathan, we're sorry for the mix-up," he said, too loud like he was performing. "We'll get you first-class seating, no problem." I didn't blink. If no one was watching, would I still be stuck here? His smile faltered. "Sir, we don't," I said. "I don't want your upgrade. I want respect for me and the soldier I'm bringing home." Sarah's voice rang out. "He's right." The crowd buzzed louder, some clapping, others arguing. John sneered, but stayed quiet, outnumbered for now. The supervisor nodded stiffly. "We'll sort it. Please wait here." As he scurried off, Mike clapped my shoulder. "You okay, Colonel?" I nodded, but I wasn't. Jamie's memory was tangled in this mess. I felt exposed, my grief, my identity, all on display. Then Sarah approached, still filming. "This is going viral," she said. "What's your story?" I hesitated. "It's not about me. It's about him, Private Reynolds." She softened. "Tell me about him." Before I could answer, a new voice cut in, a woman, sharp and furious. "Colonel Nathan." I turned to see a tall figure in civilian clothes, her eyes blazing. Lisa Reynolds, Jamie's sister. What the hell is going on? My stomach dropped. I hadn't expected family here, not yet. "Ma'am, I'm trying to get him home." "They're blocking me," her face twisted. "They what?" "After everything he gave?" She whirled on the agent who'd returned with the supervisor. "You're stopping my brother's escort? You serious?" The supervisor raised his hands. "It's a misunderstanding. Fix it." Lisa snapped. "Now." The agent typed furiously, and the supervisor muttered apologies. But Lisa wasn't done. She turned to me, her voice low. "We talked about you, you know." "A lot I didn't realize," how close you were. My throat tightened. We were friends, I said. Careful. He was a good man. No? She studied me, something shifting in her eyes. Yeah, he was. Then, a twist I didn't see coming. John stepped forward again, louder this time. Know why they're stopping. Him. I saw it online. He's got a record. Military cover-up or something? The crowd gasped. My blood ran cold. A record. That was nonsense-side. Never faced anything but commendations. But lies spread faster than truth, and I could feel the mood shifting. Mike barked. That's a load of crap. Prove it. John held up his phone, triumphant. It's right here. Some blog posted it an hour ago. Sarah zoomed in with her camera. Let's see it then. I clenched my fists. It's fake. Whoever's behind this timed it perfectly. Lisa grabbed my arm. What's he talking about? I don't know, I admitted, but I'll find out. The supervisor, now panicked, waved us forward. Colonel, you're cleared. Ow! Please, let's move. I didn't budge. Not until I know who's pulling this. Sarah grinned. Aye! Got followers digging already. We'll figure it out. John smirked, retreating into the crowd. Lisa stayed close, her anger now mixed with confusion. Mike muttered, This ain't over. He was right. As we moved toward the gate finally cleared, the weight of it all settled in. Jamie's memory was at stake. My reputation was under attack, and someone somewhere was orchestrating this nightmare. I'd get him home. But first I'd fight. I stared out the window as the plane sliced through the clouds. It's the world below, a patchwork of lights and shadows. Jamie used to say that from up here, everything looked peaceful, like the chaos of life couldn't touch us. But tonight, chaos was all I could feel. The airport scene replayed in my mind, the agent's refusal, the crowd's anger, John's venomous words cutting deeper than I'd let on. And now, with Jamie's casket secured in the hold, I was supposed to find peace? Impossible. My phone buzzed, jolting me back. Unknown number. I hesitated, then opened the message. You think you're honoring him, but you're just digging your own grave. The truth always comes out. My stomach twisted into a knot. Who sent this? What truth were they hinting at? My fingers hovered over the screen, but I didn't reply. I couldn't, not yet. I glanced around the cabin. The handful of passengers on this private flight arranged by Major Beckett were settling in, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. Breathing, but the message clawed at my thoughts. Was it about Jamie and me? Our secret? Or something more? My mind slipped back to a night in Afghanistan, under a sky so clear it felt infinite. Ow. We'd snuck away from camp just for a moment of quiet. Jamie took my hand, his touch warm and steady against the desert chill. Ow. No one can see us here, he'd whispered, his voice soft but sure. We didn't need to say more. The stars bore witness to what we kept hidden. That night, we'd brushed against the truth of us more than brothers in arms, more than we could ever admit. But we buried it deep for our careers, for survival. Someone knew, if they were weaponizing it now. I couldn't let that tarnish him. Another buzz snapped me out of it. This time it was Lisa, Jamie's sister. We need to talk when you land. What's this about a record? Is it true? The rumor was spreading like wildfire. I typed back quickly. It's not true. Someone's trying to smear me. I'll explain everything, but could I explain? I didn't even know who was pulling the strings or why. The plane's phone rang, sharp and insistent. The flight attendant approached, her expression neutral. Colonel Nathan, it's for you. I took the receiver, my pulse kicking up. Nathan here. Colonel, it's Major Beckett. His voice was clipped, authoritative. We're monitoring the situation. The record rumor is under investigation. It looks like a smear campaign, but we don't have the source yet. Stay vigilant. No media, no loose talk. We'll handle it. Understood, sir. But why me? What's the angle? We're digging into it. Could be personal, could be bigger. Focus on your duty for Newend. Watch your back. The call ended abruptly. I handed the phone back, my mind racing. A smear campaign meant someone with power, someone with a grudge. But why target me to get at Jamie's memory? What did they stand to gain? I leaned back, trying to piece it together, when the flight attendant returned. She slipped me a folded note, her voice low, from a passenger. Then she was gone. I opened it. I know what really happened. Meet me in San Francisco. Below that, a seat number 12B. My heart thudded. Friend or foe? Scanned the cabin, but no one stood out. Tucking the note into my pocket, I unbuckled and made my way to row 12. A man in a hoodie looked up as I approached, late 30s, sharp eyes, a soldier's posture. "Colonel Nathan," he said, barely above a whisper. "I'm Alex. I served with Jamie." I kept my voice steady. "What do you know?" He checked the aisle, then leaned closer. "Jamie's death, it wasn't what they say. There's more to it. I've got proof, but it's risky. If you want the truth, meet me at Golden Gate Park tomorrow, noon. Come alone." I opened my mouth to press him, but he turned away, shutting down the exchange. I lingered for a moment, then returned to my seat, my head spinning. Proof? Risky? Could I trust him, or was this another layer of the trap closing around me? The plane dipped as we began our descent. My phone buzzed, again a news alert this time. Viral video sparks outrage. Army colonel accused of misconduct while escorting fallen soldier. The article cited anonymous sources claiming I had a history of disciplinary issues. Lies, every word of it. But the comments section was a war zone, half defending me, half tearing me apart. I clenched my fists, the plastic armrest creaking under my grip. Whoever was behind this wasn't just after my reputation, they wanted me broken. We touched down in California, the wheels screeching against the tarmac. I braced myself as the doors opened and stepped into the terminal. There near the gate stood Lisa, her face tight with worry, and a man in uniform beside her. "Captain Ramirez, the liaison officer." "Colonel Nathan," Ramirez said, his tone brisk. "Due to the security concerns and public attention, we've adjusted the plan. You'll head to headquarters first for a debriefing." I frowned, my jaw tightening. I need to deliver Jamie's remains to his family. That's still the priority, he assured me. But we're adding security and rerouting to manage the situation. This has blown up bigger than we expected. Lisa stepped forward, her voice sharp. "David, what's happening? Who's spreading these lies about you?" I met her eyes, seeing Jamie in the curve of her jaw, the fire in her stare. "I don't know yet, but I'll find out." "For him," she nodded, though doubt flickered across her face. "He trusted you. Don't let him down." Ramirez gestured toward the exit. "Let's move. Car's waiting." We started walking, the crowd parting around us. I felt every glance, every murmur, the weight of the viral video pressing down. Then, as we neared the doors, a figure emerged from the shadows. John, the man from the airport. His smirk was gone, replaced by a cold, hard glare. "You think you're a hero, Nathan?" he spat. "Out. You're a fraud. And I've got proof. Real proof. You'll see." I took a step toward him, anger flaring, but Ramirez blocked me. "Back off, sir. This is official business." John laughed, bitter and jagged. "Official? You mean covering up for him? Enjoy your little escort while it lasts?" He melted into the crowd before I could respond. My blood ran cold. Proof? Was he the one behind the rumors? The threatening text? Lisa grabbed my arm. "Who was that?" "Trouble," I muttered. We climbed into a black SUV outside, the city lights streaking past as we drove. Jamie's face haunted me, his laugh, his quiet strength, the way he'd made me feel seen in a world that demanded I hide. I had to protect that, no matter the cost. But with enemies circling John, the mystery texter, maybe even Alex, I wasn't sure who to trust. One thing was certain, this wasn't just about bringing Jamie home anymore. It was about uncovering the truth and surviving it. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering onto the desk. The distorted voice echoed in my skull. "Stop now, or you'll end up like Jamie." My breath came in shallow bursts, the room spinning. Was this a bluff? Or did they really kill him? And if they did, what the hell had Jamie uncovered that was worth his life and now mine? I grabbed the notebook again, flipping back to that entry. Meeting with call. Harris, 2200, Warehouse District. Evidence secured. My mind raced. Harris wasn't just some desk jockey. He was a legend. A man who'd climbed the ranks with a reputation for ruthlessness masked as duty. If Jamie had met him in secret, it wasn't for a pat on the back. Evidence of what? Corruption, Alex had said. But how deep did it go? I needed to move, to do something before they closed in. I stuffed the notebook into my jacket and headed out, the San Francisco night pressing against me like a living thing. The streets were alive, cars honking, neon signs buzzing, but I felt isolated, a target in the open. That black car from earlier lingered in my mind. Had it followed me? Was it out there now, waiting? I decided to call Captain Ramirez. Been quiet lately. Too quiet for someone who'd promised to help. Maybe he knew something about Harris. The phone rang 3 times before he picked up. His voice clipped. Nathan, it's late. I don't care, I said. I need to know about Colonel Harris. Did Jamie ever mention him? Pause too long for comfort? Harris. Why? Just answer the question, Ramirez. He sighed. Jamie asked about him once, maybe a month before. Wanted to know if Harris was clean. Told him nobody that high up is spotless, but I didn't have proof. Why is this coming up now? Because I think Harris might be involved in whatever got Jamie killed. Jesus, David. That's a hell of an accusation. You got evidence? I'm working on it. Just keep your eyes open, okay? Always do, he said, but his tone was off-guarded. I hung up, unease gnawing at me. Was Ramirez hiding something, or was I just paranoid? The next morning I drove to the warehouse district, a maze of rusted steel and cracked concrete near the bay. The air smelled of salt and oil, the fog rolling in thick enough to blur the edges of everything. I didn't know what I was looking for, just a hunch, a thread to pull. Jamie's note had been vague, but if he'd secured evidence here, maybe there was a trace left behind. I parked near a row of abandoned buildings, their windows dark and shattered. My boots crunched on gravel as I approached the nearest one, a hulking structure tagged with graffiti. The door hung ajar, creaking in the wind. Inside, it was a tomb, dusty crates, broken pipes, the faint drip of water somewhere deep within. I pulled out my flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. I searched for anything, a scrap of paper, a mark, a sign Jamie had been here. Nothing. Just shadows and silence. Then a noise, a shuffle, faint but deliberate. I froze, hand slipping to the knife at my belt. Who's there? I called. My voice steady despite the adrenaline spiking through me. No answer, just the echo of my own words. I moved toward the sound, deeper into the warehouse, the air growing colder. Another shuffle, closer now. I swung the flashlight around, catching a glint of movement, a figure darting behind a stack of crates. Hey, I shouted, breaking into a run. The figure bolted, footsteps pounding against the concrete. I chased, my lungs burning, the beam bouncing wildly as I rounded corners. They were fast, but I was faster, closing the gap until I could see them, a man. Hooded, clutching something under his arm. Stop, I yelled, lunging as he veered toward an exit. My hand caught his sleeve, yanking him back. He twisted, swinging. A fist that grazed my jaw. I stumbled, but held on, tackling him to the ground. We hit hard, rolling in the dirt, his elbow slamming into my ribs. I pinned him, wrenching his arm back until he gasped. Who are you? I demanded, tearing the hood off. A stranger's face stared back, young, maybe 30, with wild eyes and a scar cutting across his cheek. Let me go, he spat, struggling. Beneath me. Not until you talk. What are you doing here? Did you know Jamie Reynolds? His eyes flickered, a crack in his defiance. I don't know nothing about him, bullshit. I tightened my grip. You're here for a reason. What is it? He glared, then sagged like the fight had drained out of him. I was sent to clean up. Make sure nothing was left. Left from what? Who sent you? He hesitated, then muttered Harris. He said there couldn't be any loose ends. My heart stopped. Harris, Colonel Harris. He nodded barely. I don't know details, just that something went down here, and you wanted it gone. I released him, standing as he scrambled to his feet. Get out of here, I said. If you're smart, you'll disappear. He didn't need telling. Twice, sprinting into the fog, I stood there, breathing hard, piecing it together. Harris, Jamie, evidence. This wasn't just corruption. It was a cover-up. I was walking right into it. I searched the spot where he'd been lurking, finding a small metal box half buried under debris. Inside was a USB drive, scratched but intact. My hand shook as I pocketed it. Was this what Jamie had hidden? What he died for? Back at the hotel, I plugged the drive into my laptop, my pulse racing. A single file loaded a grainy video. Jamie's face filled the screen, his voice low and urgent. If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. I found something proof of illegal arms deals, high up the chain. Harris is in it, maybe others. I've got documents, recordings. They're on to me, David. If I don't make it, you have to finish this. For us, the video cut out, leaving me staring at a blank screen, my world tilting. Jamie hadn't just been killed, he'd been murdered, silenced for what he knew. And now I had the proof. But before I could process it, my door rattled a sharp, insistent knock. I grabbed my knife, moving silently to the peephole. Outside stood a man in a dark suit, his face obscured by a cap. He knocked again, harder. "Colonel Nathan," he said, voice muffled but firm. "We need to talk now." I gripped the knife tighter, my mind racing. Friend or foe? Either way, I was out of time. Harris's smile cut through the crowd like a blade, cold and deliberate. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out the murmured eulogies and the distant hum of traffic. I forced myself to hold his gaze, refusing to flinch, even as every instinct screamed at me to run. Ramirez's warning echoed in my mind a mole. Someone close to Yubo, I couldn't back down now. Not with Jamie's memory hanging in the balance. I took a step forward, the gravel crunching beneath my boots, and the crowd seemed to fade away. It was just me and Harris, two soldiers locked in a silent war. His hand rested casually on the podium, but I saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers twitched like he was itching to draw a weapon. He knew I was coming for him. He was ready. "Colonel Nathan," he said as I approached, his voice smooth as polished steel. "I didn't expect to see you here. Paying your respects, I assume?" "Something like that," I replied, keeping my tone even. "We need to talk." His eyes narrowed, just a fraction, but enough to tell me I'd struck a nerve. "This isn't the time or place, David. Surely you know that." "It's exactly the time," I said, stepping closer. "Because I know what you did to Jamie, and I've got proof." The lie slipped out before I could stop at the USB drive. Held evidence, sure, but nothing concrete enough to nail him yet. Still, I saw the flicker of doubt in his expression, the momentary crack in his armor. I pressed the advantage. "You thought you could bury it," I continued, my voice low but firm. "The arms deals, the payoffs, the bodies. But Jamie didn't die quietly, did he? He made sure someone would find out." Harris's smile returned, thinner this time, more dangerous. "You're treading on thin ice, Colonel. Accusations like that could ruin a mono, get him killed." "Is that a threat?" I asked, my hand curling into a fist at my side. "A warning," he said, leaning in close enough that I could smell the mint on his breath. "Walk away, David, for your own good." I held his stare, my resolve hardening. I don't walk away. From traitors, for a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Then Harris straightened, his expression smoothing into something unreadable. "Enjoy the ceremony," he said, turning back to the podium as if I were nothing more than a ghost. But I wasn't done. I reached into my pocket, fingers brushing the USB drive, and took a step toward him only to feel another hand on my shoulder, pulling me back again. I turned, expecting Ramirez, but it was Alex, his face pale and urgent. "Not here," he hissed, his grip tight. "He's got men in the crowd. You won't make it out alive if you push him now." I yanked my arm free, anger flaring. "Told me to confront him. What the hell's changed?" "Everything," Alex said, his voice trembling. "I just got word Harris knows about the documents. He's already moving to cover his tracks. If you go at him now, he'll spin it, make you the villain." "We need more time." "Time," I snapped. "Jamie's dead, Alex. How much more time do you think we have?" He flinched, but his eyes didn't waver. "Enough to do this right. Please, David, trust me." Trust. That word again bitter on my tongue. I glanced back at Harris, now speaking to the crowd, his voice carrying over the murmurs like a sermon. Every word was a lie, a mockery of the man we were supposed to be honoring. My chest tightened, torn between rage and reason. Fine, I said finally, the word tasting like defeat. But I'm not running. Not yet. Alex nodded, relief washing over his features. Good, meet me tonight, Safe House on 12th. We'll figure out the next move. He melted back into the crowd before I could respond, leaving me alone again. The memorial dragged on, a blur of speeches and salutes, but I barely heard it. My mind was racing, piecing together the fragments from Ramirez's confession, Alex's warning, Harris's smug confidence. Someone was lying, and I was running out of time to figure out who. As the ceremony ended, I slipped away, avoiding the eyes of the mourners. I needed space, a moment to breathe, to think. I found myself in a quiet corner of the grounds, beneath an oak tree heavy with autumn leaves. The air was cool, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos in my head, and then another memory hit. Me, sharp and vivid. Jamie, laughing in the dim light of a bar back stateside, his arms slung around my shoulders. We'd been off duty, free for once, and the world had felt lighter. Later, in his apartment, the laughter had faded into something softer, more fragile. His hands had traced the scars on my back, his touch gentle but sure, and for a few stolen. Ours, we'd been more than soldiers. We'd been us. I'd fight for you, you know, he'd murmured against my skin, his voice thick with exhaustion and something deeper. No matter what. Standing under that tree, I felt the sting. Of tears I wouldn't let fall. I'm fighting for you now, I whispered to the empty air. I just hope it's enough. The crunch of footsteps snapped me back to the present. I turned, hand instinctively going to the knife at my belt. But it was Lisa, her face etched. With worry? David, thank God, she said, her voice low. I've been looking for you. Ramirez told me what's happening. He said you're in over your head, did he? I asked, my tone sharp. And what else did he say? She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder. He thinks Harris is on to you, and he's not sure who you can trust. Neither am I. I studied her, searching for a tell, a sign she might be the mole Ramirez warned about. But her eyes were steady, her concern genuine, or so it seemed. What about you, Lisa? Can I trust you? She flinched, hurt flashing across her face. After everything, you have to ask. I have to ask everyone, I said, softer this time. It's not personal. It feels personal, she muttered, then shook her head. Look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm on your side. Whatever you need, I'm here. I wanted to believe her. God, I needed to. But doubt gnawed at me, a shadow I couldn't shake. Thanks, I said, forcing a nod. I'll let you know. She lingered for a moment, then turned and walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. The sun was dipping below the horizon now, casting long shadows across the grounds. I checked my watch hours until the meet with Alex, hours to decide my next move. But before I could take a step, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting Alex or Lisa, but the number was blocked. My gut twisted as I answered. Nathan. He flinched, but his eyes didn't waver. Enough to do this right. Please, David, trust me. Trust that word again, bitter on my tongue. I glanced back at Harris, now speaking to the crowd, his voice carrying over the murmurs like a sermon. Every word was a lie, a mockery of the man we were supposed to be honoring. My chest tightened, torn between rage and reason. Fine, I said finally, the word tasting like defeat. But I'm not running, not yet. Alex nodded, relief washing over his features. Good. Meet me tonight, Safe House on 12th. We'll figure out the next move. He melted back into the crowd before I could respond, leaving me alone again. The memorial dragged on, a blur of speeches and salutes, but I barely heard it. My mind was racing, piecing together the fragments Ramirez's confession, Alex's warning, Harris's smug confidence. Someone was lying, and I was running out of time to figure out who as the ceremony ended. I slipped away, avoiding the eyes of the mourners. I needed space, a moment to breathe, to think. I found myself in a quiet corner of the grounds, beneath an oak tree heavy with autumn leaves. The air was cool, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos in my head. And then another memory hit me, sharp and vivid. Jamie, laughing in the dim light of a bar back stateside, his arms slung around my shoulders. We'd been off duty, free for once, and the world had felt lighter. Later, in his apartment, the laughter had faded into something softer and more fragile. His hands had traced the scars on my back, his touch gentle but sure, and for a few stolen hours, we'd been more than soldiers. We'd been us. "I'd fight for you, you know," he'd murmured against my skin, his voice thick with exhaustion and something deeper. "No matter what." Now, standing under that tree, I felt the sting of tears I wouldn't let fall. "I'm fighting for you now," I whispered to the empty air. "I just hope it's enough." The crunch of footsteps snapped me back to the present. I turned, hand instinctively going to the knife at my belt, but it was Lisa, her face etched with worry. "David, thank God," she said, her voice low. "I've been looking for you. Ramirez told me what's happening. He said you're in over your head." "Did he?" I asked, my tone sharp. "And what else did he say?" She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder. "He thinks Harris is onto you, and he's not sure who you can trust. Neither am I." I studied her, searching for a tell, a sign she might be the mole Ramirez warned about. But her eyes were steady, her concern genuine, or so it seemed. "What about you, Lisa? Can I trust you?" She flinched, hurt flashing across her face. "After everything, you have to ask. I have to ask everyone," I said, softer this time. "It's not personal. It feels personal," she muttered, then shook her head. "Look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm on your side. Whatever you need, I'm here." I wanted to believe her. God, I needed to. But doubt gnawed at me, a shadow I couldn't shake. "Thanks," I said, forcing a nod. "I'll let you know." She lingered for a moment, then turned and walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. God. The sun was dipping below the horizon now, casting long shadows across the grounds. I checked my watch hours until the meet with Alex. Hours to decide my next move. But before I could take a step, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting Alex or Lisa, but the number was blocked. My gut twisted as I answered. "Nathan," a voice said, distorted and mechanical. "You're a hard man to scare." "Who is this?" I demanded, scanning the area for any sign of movement. "Someone who knows what you're after," the voice replied. "And someone who knows you won't find it. Harris is untouchable. Walk away, or the next memorial will be yours." The line went dead, leaving me staring at the screen, my heart hammering. Another threat, another warning. But this one felt different, more personal, more certain. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, my mind made up. No more waiting, no more running. Tonight at the safe house, I'd get the truth, one way or another. But as I started toward my car, a figure emerged from the shadows ahead, blocking my path. Tall, broad-shouldered, face obscured by a hood. A glint of metal flashed in his hand. "Colonel Nathan," he said, his voice low and calm. "We need to have a little chat." My hand tightened on the knife, every nerve on edge. The trap wasn't just set, it was closing in. The hospital room was a sterile blur of white walls and beeping machines. I drifted in and out of consciousness, the pain in my side a dull throb dulled further by the morphine dripping into my veins. Lisa sat beside me, her hand resting lightly on mine, her face etched with worry. Alex was in another room, getting his arm patched up, while the FBI agents had taken Ramirez into custody. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope, but it was tempered by the gnawing uncertainty that lingered in my gut. "David," Lisa said softly, snapping me back to the present, "you need to rest." I shook my head, wincing, as the movement tugged at my stitches. "No time for that. Harris is still out there. We've got the evidence. But we need to get it to Sarah Thompson before he finds a way to bury this." She sighed, her grip tightening on my hand. "The FBI has Ramirez. They're moving on Harris. Can't you let them handle it? It's not until it's finished," I said, my voice hoarse but firm. "Jamie deserves that much," Lisa nodded, her eyes glistening. "Okay, but promise me you'll be careful." I managed a weak smile. Always am. The door swung open, and Alex stepped in, his arm in a sling but his expression resolute. "Good news," he said, closing the door behind him. "The agents got a warrant based on the documents we handed over. They're raiding Harris's estate tonight." My pulse quickened. "Tonight? That's fast." "They've been building a case for months," Alex explained. "Your evidence was the final piece. They're confident they'll find enough to lock him away for good arms trafficking, bribery, murder for hire. The whole damn network." I sat up straighter, ignoring the stab of pain in my side. "And Sarah Thompson? Meeting's still on for tomorrow," Alex said. "The FBI wants her to break the story once they've got Harris in custody. Maximum exposure, no chance for him to weasel out." I nodded, the plan solidifying in my mind. "Good, but we need to be there when they take him down. I want to see his face when it happens." Alex hesitated, glancing at Lisa. "David, you're in no shape." "I'm fine," I cut in, swinging my legs over the side of the bed despite the protests of my body. "I've come this far. I'm not sitting this out." Lisa stood, her hands on her hips. "David Nathan, you're stubborn as hell. But if you're going, I'm coming with you." I met her gaze, seeing the fire behind her fear. "All right," I said, "but you stay behind me." Later that night, the drive to Harris's estate was a tense, silent affair. The FBI had set up a perimeter a mile out, their black SUVs blending into the darkness. We parked behind a cluster of trees, the sprawling mansion visible in the distance, its windows glowing like predatory eyes. Agents moved like shadows, coordinating over radios, their voices clipped and urgent. I adjusted the borrowed Kevlar vest, the weight unfamiliar after years behind a desk. Lisa stayed close, her eyes scanning the night while Alex checked his gun, his jaw tight. The lead agent, a grizzled man named Kessler, approached us. "Colonel," he said, nodding. "You sure you're up for this?" "Wouldn't miss it," I replied, my voice steady despite the ache in my side. He grunted, then gestured toward the estate. "We've got eyes inside. Harris is there, along with a dozen armed guards. We're hitting them hard and fast breach at 020. You three stay back until we've secured the perimeter." I nodded, though I had no intention of staying on the sidelines for long. Kessler moved off, barking orders, and I turned to Alex and Lisa. "If anything goes sideways, you get out. No heroics," says the man who tackled a traitor with a bullet in his side, Alex muttered. But he clapped me on the shoulder. "We've got this, David." The raid began with a deafening explosion flashbangs lighting up the night as the front gates blew open. Shouts and gunfire erupted, the chaos unfolding like a war zone. I watched through binoculars as agents stormed the grounds, guards scrambling to respond. Harris's empire was crumbling, and I felt a grim satisfaction. Then a side door burst open, and a figure emerged, Harris himself, flanked by two men, making a break for a garage. "He's running," I said, dropping the binoculars. "We can't let him get away." "David, wait," Lisa started, but I was already moving, adrenaline overriding the pain. Alex and Lisa fell in behind me, and we cut through the trees, flanking the estate. We reached the garage just as Harris and his men piled into an SUV. I drew my sidearm, firing at the tires. The vehicle swerved, crashing into a concrete barrier. Harris stumbled out, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead, his polished veneer replaced by raw panic. "End of the line, General," I said, stepping forward, gun trained on him. He sneered, his voice dripping with venom. "You think this stops me, Nathan? You're a fool. Hey, there are others bigger than me. You'll never a gunshot cut him off." His body jerking as a bullet tore through his chest. I spun, seeing Lisa lower her weapon, her hands trembling but her face set. "He was reaching for something," she said, her voice shaking. I looked down at Harris's lifeless form, a pistol clutched in his hand. "You did what you had to," I said, holstering my weapon. "It's over." The FBI swarmed in, securing the scene. But I barely registered their shouts, sank to the ground, exhaustion and relief washing over me. Lisa knelt beside me, her arm around my shoulders while Alex kept watch, silhouette stark against the flashing lights. Harris was gone, but his final words echoed in my mind. "There are others bigger than me." The conspiracy wasn't dead. Not yet. But for now, we'd won a battle one Jamie would have been proud of. The next day, Sarah Thompson met us in a quiet diner. a notepad ready, her eyes sharp with the hunger of a truth-seeker. We handed over the documents, every damning detail, and watched as her expression shifted from skepticism to grim determination. "This is bigger than I imagined," she said, flipping through the pages. "I'll need time to verify, but if this holds up, it's front page. National news. You're sure you want your names on this?" I glanced at Alex and Lisa, then back at her. "Yeah, for Jamie." She nodded, tucking the files into her bag. "Then I'll make it count." As she left, I leaned back, the weight of the past week settling into my bones. The war wasn't over, not by a long shot, but for the first time, I felt like we had fighting chance. I lay in the hospital bed, the steady beep of the heart monitor a constant reminder of my current helplessness. The television mounted on the wall was tuned to CNN, where Sarah Thompson's face filled the screen. Her voice was steady and authoritative as she detailed the explosive revelations from her latest article. Colonel David Nathan's courageous pursuit of justice has uncovered a web of corruption that reaches the highest levels of the military, she said. Oh, I felt a surge of pride, but it was quickly tempered by the knowledge that this was far from over. The door creaked open, and Lisa stepped in, carrying a bag of my belongings. "Hey, hero," she said with a small smile. "Thought you might want some of your stuff." "Thanks," I replied, managing a weak grin. "How's it looking out there?" "Chaotic," she said, setting the bag down. "The articles everywhere. People are demanding answers, and the brass is scrambling. They're launching an official investigation." I nodded, though a knot of unease tightened in my stomach. "Who's leading it?" "General Mitchell," she said. "He's got a reputation for being tough but fair. They say he's the right man for the job." I knew Mitchell by name, a decorated officer with a long career. But in my experience, the higher you climbed, the more skeletons you had in your closet. "Let's hope so," I muttered. Lisa sat beside me, her hand resting on mine. "David, maybe it's time to let them handle it. You've done enough." "You're hurt, and I can't," I interrupted, my voice sharper than intended. "Not until I know it's finished. For Jamie." She sighed, her eyes searching mine. "I know, but promise me you'll be careful. I can't lose you too." Before I could respond, Alex walked in, his expression grim. "We've got a problem," he said without preamble. I sat up, wincing at the pain. "What is it?" "Some of the evidence we handed over, it's missing. Files, recordings, all gone. The investigators are claiming they never received them." My blood ran cold. "That's impossible. I gave them everything." "Exactly," Alex said. "Someone's tampering with the investigation." Lisa's grip tightened on my hand. "What does that mean?" "It means there's a mole," I said, the words tasting bitter. "Someone on the inside is protecting the conspiracy." Alex nodded. "We need to find out who, and fast." I threw off the covers, swinging my legs over the side of the bed. "Then let's get to work." "David, you're not," Lisa started, but I cut her off. "I'm fine. We don't have time to waste." Against the doctor's orders, I checked myself out of the hospital, ignoring the protests of the medical staff. Lisa and Alex flanked me as we left, their presence a small comfort in the storm brewing around us. Our first stop was Jamie's apartment. It had been sealed since his death. But Lisa, as his next of kin, had the authority to enter. The place was just as he'd left it, neat, orderly, a soldier's habit. But there was a heaviness in the air, a sense of unfinished business. We searched through his belongings, looking for anything that might point us in the right direction. In his desk drawer, tucked beneath a stack of papers, I found a small notebook. Flipping through it, I saw pages of coded notes, Jamie's handwriting. It's meticulous as always. "This could be something," I said, showing it to Alex. He examined it, his brow furrowed. "It's encrypted. We'll need help decoding it." "I know someone," I said, thinking of an old friend from intelligence. "Marcus Lee. He owed me a favor, and he was discreet." We left the apartment, notebook in hand, and headed to Marcus's place. He was a tech wizard, retired from the service, but still sharp as ever. After a brief explanation, he agreed to help, plugging the notebook's contents into his computer. "It'll take a few hours," he said. "I'll call you when it's done, with time to kill." We returned to the safe house, a small, nondescript apartment on the outskirts of the city. The tension was palpable, each of us lost in our thoughts. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon. Alex and I sat on the balcony, the city lights flickering to life. Lisa was inside, resting. "You okay?" Alex asked, his voice soft. I shrugged, as okay as I can be. This whole thing, it's bigger than I imagined. He nodded, his gaze distant. Jamie was onto something massive. He must have known. The risks? Yeah, I said, my throat tightening. He always did. There was a pause, then Alex turned to me, his eyes searching. "You and Jamie, you were close, weren't you?" I hesitated, the weight of the question hanging between us. We were more than friends once, but we kept it quiet, for obvious reasons. Alex's expression softened. I figured, talked about you sometimes, you know? Always with a certain look in his eye. I smiled faintly, memories flooding. Back. He was special. Losing him, it's like losing a part of myself. Alex reached out, his hand covering mine. "You're not alone in this, David. We're going to finish what he started." His touch was warm, grounding. For a moment, the world narrowed to just us, the air thick with unspoken words. But then my phone buzzed, shattering the moment. It was Marcus. "I've got something," he said. "You need to see this." He hurried back to his place, where he showed us the decrypted files, financial records, emails, coded messages, all pointing to General Mitchell's involvement in the conspiracy. He was taking bribes from a defense contractor, facilitating the illegal arms deals. But there was more. The files indicated that the conspiracy had international ties, the weapons being funneled to a terrorist group in the Middle East, and a major deal was set to go down in 2 days. "This is it," I said, my heart racing. "We have to stop." "This," Alex agreed. "But we can't trust the official investigation. Mitchell will bury it. Then we go rogue," I said. "We take this to someone outside the system, maybe the FBI or Homeland Security." Lisa, who had been quiet, spoke up. "What about Sarah Thompson? She could help us get the word out, put pressure on the authorities." "Good idea," I said. "But first I need to confront Mitchell. See if I can get him to slip up." Alex frowned. "That's risky. If he's involved, he won't hesitate to eliminate you." "I know," I said, "but it's the only way to confirm." The next day, I arranged a meeting with Mitchell under the pretense of providing additional evidence. We met in a secure room at the Pentagon, the air thick with tension. Colonel Nathan Mitchell said, his tone cordial but guarded. "What do you have for me?" I handed him a folder carefully curated to include some incriminating details, but not the full picture. "More financial records," I said, linking the arms deals to a company called Apex Defense. He flipped through the pages, his expression unreadable. "Interesting. We'll look into it." Then I dropped the bait. "There's mention of a code name Falcon. Mean anything to you?" His eyes flickered, just for a second. "No, can't say it does." But I saw it, the crack in his facade. "Really?" "Because according to Jamie's notes, Falcon was the one pulling the strings." Mitchell's jaw tightened. "You're treading on dangerous ground, Colonel. Accusations like that could end your career or worse." "Is that a threat, General?" I asked, holding his gaze. "A warning," he said, his voice cold. "Think carefully about your next move. For your sake, and for those you care about." Implication was clear. He was threatening Lisa, maybe even Alex. I stood, my fists clenched. I'll take my chances. As I left the building, my mind raced. Mitchell was involved, no doubt about it. And now, I was in his crosshairs. Back at the safe house, Marcus called again. "There's more," he said. "The deal-it's happening tomorrow night at a warehouse in Baltimore. Coordinates are in the files." I looked at Alex and Lisa. "We have to stop it. If those weapons get into the wrong hands..." Alex nodded. "Let's do it, but we need a plan and backup." Thought for a moment. "I know some people, former colleagues, who owe me favors. We can put together a small team." Lisa stepped forward. "I'm coming too. Jamie was my brother. I want to see this through." I hesitated, but her determination was clear. "All right, but you stay behind us." We spent the next few hours preparing, gathering weapons, mapping out the warehouse, coordinating with our allies. It was a ragtag group, but they were skilled and loyal. As night fell, we geared up, the weight of the mission settling on our shoulders. I glanced at Alex, who gave me a reassuring nod. "For Jamie," he said. "For Jamie," I echoed, and with that we set out into the darkness, ready to face whatever awaited us. The night was thick with tension as we approached the warehouse. The air heavy with the scent of salt water and diesel fuel. Baltimore's industrial district was a maze of shadows and steel. It's the perfect place for secrets to be buried or deals to be made. My team moved like ghosts, each step deliberate, each breath measured. We'd come too far to let this slip through. Our fingers now. I signaled for Alex and Lisa to flank left, while I took the right, my eyes scanning the perimeter. 2 guards patrolled the entrance, their rifles slung casually over their shoulders. Too casual. They didn't know we were coming. I nodded to Alex, who slipped a suppressor onto his pistol. With 2 soft pops, the guards crumpled to the ground. We dragged their bodies into the shadows, then regrouped at the side door. Inside. The warehouse was a cavern of crates and machinery, the dim overhead lights casting long, eerie shadows. Voices echoed from deeper within Mitchell's, clipped and commanding, and another accented and sharp. The buyers. We crept closer, staying low. Through a gap in the crates, I saw them. General Mitchell, flanked by 2 of his lieutenants, and a group of men in dark suits, their faces hard and unreadable. Crates marked with hazard symbols were being loaded onto trucks, enough firepower to start a small war. My jaw tightened. This ended tonight. I turned to Alex and Lisa, keeping my voice to a whisper. "Alex, you're the distraction. Draw their fire to the east side. Lisa, you're with me. We'll plant the charges on the trucks. The rest of you, cover us." Alex gave a tight nod, then slipped away, his footsteps silent. Lisa's hand brushed mine, her touch a brief anchor in the storm. "Be careful," she mouthed. "You too," I replied. Then we moved. We were halfway to the trucks when a shout rang out. "Intruders." The word was like a match to gasoline. Gunfire erupted, bullets tearing through the air. I dove behind a crate, Lisa beside me. As the warehouse transformed into a battlefield, through the chaos, I saw Alex sprinting across the floor, drawing the enemy's attention. He fired back, his shots precise, but there were too many. One of Mitchell's men leveled a rifle at him, and I reacted on instinct, raising my own weapon and squeezing the trigger. The man dropped, but more took his place. "David," Lisa yelled, pointing to the trucks. "We have to move." I nodded, and we ran, ducking and weaving through the hail of bullets. We reached the first truck, and Lisa pulled out the explosives, her hands steady despite the danger. As she worked, I covered her, firing at anyone who got too close. But then a voice cut through the din. Mitchell's, cold and mocking. "Nathan, you're persistent, I'll give you that." I turned to see him standing on a catwalk above, his pistol aimed squarely at me. "But you're out of your depth." Not. This time I shouted back, "It's over, Mitchell. The world knows what you've done." He laughed, the sound hollow. "You think one article will stop us? We're everywhere, Nathan. Can't win." "Maybe not," I said, my grip tightening on my gun. "But I can stop you." Before I could fire, a figure tackled me from the side, slamming me to the ground. I wrestled with my attacker, recognizing him instantly. Captain Ramirez, the man who'd promised to help, the one I'd trusted. "Ramirez?" I gasped, struggling beneath him. "You're the mole?" His face was a mask of regret and desperation. "I didn't have a choice, David. They threatened my family." I headbutted him, breaking free, and scrambled to my feet. "There's always a choice," I spat. But there was no time for more. Mitchell was gone, fleeing toward the back exit. I gave chase, leaving Ramirez groaning on the floor. The warehouse was a labyrinth, but I followed the sound of Mitchell's footsteps, my heart pounding in my ears. I caught up to him in a narrow corridor, blocking his path. He raised his gun, but I was faster, disarming him with a swift kick. We grappled, trading blows, each strike fueled by months of anger and grief. Finally, I pinned him against the wall, my forearm pressed to his throat. "Oh, this is for Jamie," I growled. Mitchell's eyes widened, but before I could finish it, a gunshot rang out. He slumped in my grasp, a bullet hole in his chest. I spun around to see Lisa standing there, her gun smoking. He was reaching for a knife. She said, her voice steady. I nodded, letting Mitchell's body fall. "Thanks." With Mitchell down, the fight drained from his men. They surrendered, or fled, and soon the warehouse was secure. Alex and the team set the charges, and we evacuated just as the explosions ripped through the night, destroying the weapons and the conspiracy's plans. As the flames lit up the sky, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It was over. We'd done it. Days later, I stood at Jamie's grave, the morning sun warm on my face. Lisa was beside me, her hand in mine. "We did it, Jamie," I whispered. "We stopped them." Lisa squeezed my hand. "He'd be proud of you, David." I smiled, a tear slipping down my cheek. "I hope so." Sarah Thompson had arrived that night, her camera crew in tow, capturing the wreckage and the captured conspirators. The story broke the next day headlines, screaming about corruption and betrayal, about justice served. The surviving conspirators were arrested, their empire crumbling under the weight of the truth. Later, as I packed my bags for the next mission, there was always another fight. Another injustice. Terute thought about the journey I'd been on. I'd lost so much, but I'd gained something too, a sense of purpose, a reason to keep going. And as I looked to the future, I knew that Jamie would always be with me, guiding me, inspiring me to be the man he believed I could be.